Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Last hour of the week for us here. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. We'll have a lot of baseball discussion in the final 30 minutes or so of the show. Travis Brown going to join us from College Station coming up in 15 minutes. Travis covers the Texas A&M Aggies. Always good enough to give us a little bit of time when LSU and A&M lock horns. So we'll do that and get a preview of Michael Early's club coming into the box in 15 minutes. We'll start with football, though, and I want to do that with a little bit of discussion about running back. There has been no player I've discussed more in this spring than Dilin Jones, and I believe it's for very good reason. He just stands out. He's more physical than the other backs, imposing than the other backs. He's got 10 pounds on Caden Durham plus 2 or 3 inches. He's got 18, 20 pounds on Harlem Berry in an inch. He's just bigger than those guys, and he's gotten a lot of reps with the number ones, and I don't know if that's something that we expected when he transferred in. The question is, like, why did he transfer in? Because when you look around the LSU offense, you saw an offensive line that just got annihilated by the transfer portal. Like, yes, Weston Davis stayed. Yes, Braylon Moore stayed. You had some reserves like Solomon Thomas and the Bordelon brothers that were there, but, like, you lost 7 offensive linemen to the portal. The wide receivers, everybody was gone but Phillip Wright. Gone. Quarterback, everybody's gone. So the only position that had some incumbents was running back. Caden Durham and Harlem Berry came back. So that was not theoretically a very appealing place for an aspiring starting running back to show up. Yet Dilin Jones did show up. And keep in mind, this is not some like guy off the radar behind the scenes. Jones was a 4-star tailback out of high school. ESPN ranked him the number 6 running back in the class in 2024. He has some pedigree, has some chops to him. So why did he come to LSU? They asked him that on Thursday.
I mean, really, playing under Lane Kiffin, I don't think nobody really want to pass that up. And then, I'm saying, Coach Kevin Smith, I feel like he's probably the best in the game. You see what he done. I mean, when he played football, and then you see what he did with the previous running backs that he had. So I feel like it was a no-brainer. Why not LSU?
That's interesting. That's reputation. That's Lane Kiffin's reputation, luring players to Baton Rouge. Not that we didn't expect that to happen, but that's evidence of it right there. And then Kevin Smith has that reputation as well. Kevin Smith, and you'll hear this later on, but Kevin Smith has turned on his tape for the players at LSU. Like, that's the kind of flex you're looking at here. Like, here's how you do it. Here's how I did it. Here's how I became the all-time leading rusher in Florida college football, the state, not the school. And here's how I got in the NFL. Here's how you can do it. It's a heck of a selling point. And Jones continued on and talked about the competition with Harlem Berry, with Caden Durham. You already had Racine Guillory come in, and Rod Gainey had come in, and he didn't care.
I say all of us are good, but it's only one football. And I do think we're going to rotate and have a good rotation going, but it's only so many people that can play. And competition is great. We all out there, we competing. We still come into meetings. We talk about plays that we had. We still sit there and talk with each other, but we just push each other.
Now, the next part of this is something that I'm leaning on as an analyst and certainly as a fan of the program. Like, I am very hopeful and candidly, like, expectant that LSU's offense will be able to run the ball. I know that there's a lot of turnover on the offensive line, but Lane Kiffin has just kind of been able to run the ball everywhere that he's been. And you saw Kejuan Lacey have a monster year, and you saw Quinshon Junkins really run the ball well in Oxford. And you've seen this Ole Miss team either lead the SEC in rushing, what they did early in Kiffin's time. Last year they led the SEC in rushing touchdowns. They've just been able to do it. And Dilin Jones talked about why Kiffin's offense kind of favors the running back.
Like, to me, I feel like it's great for the running back because it gives you a lot of opportunities to get one-on-one chances with the back, like linebackers. And, I mean, the pass game opened up the run game a lot. So you see we could pass the ball, we got the receivers, and then I feel like that just helped me out a lot more, me being able to get one-on-one with the back.
I'm hopeful, man. They've got to find a way to run the football next year, and I just don't think talent's a problem. Dilin Jones, to me, looks like a talented physical back. Harlem Berry is very gifted in space. Caden Durham, when healthy, has made guys miss, has busted long runs. I think they've got some talent. They've just got to find a way to use it. And one of the things that they're going to be able to do is run that tempo. And you see that at practice. I talked about it yesterday trying to take notes at practice. You got to go fast. Everybody's going fast. And that's certainly a change of pace from Wisconsin, where Dilin Jones comes from. And he talked about the getting into shape and then the tempo of practice.
When I got injured, I really focused a lot on being in shape for when I come back because I knew that was going to be a big challenge. And I feel like I worked on it so much now I say it's pretty easy just being out there. I can focus on the plays and not sitting there trying to catch my breath. I feel like I'm in a pretty good shape right now.
And you better be if you're going to be out there. And one of the other things about the tempo, you have to be in good shape because you're moving quickly. But the other thing is you may not come off the field because if you substitute on offense, or if you change running backs, the defense gets to substitute. The ref holds the ball. Well, we know Lane Kiffin doesn't want that. So if you're a running back, yeah, you might have gotten one carry for 6 yards and then bust one for 21. You're not coming off the field because they want to keep going. And that's part of being a back in Lane Kiffin's system. And part of that means you're out there on first down and second down and third down, sometimes fourth down if he wants to go for it. So you've got to be able to do all of the things that those downs ask. And Dilin Jones talked about being able to be a 4-down back.
I feel like I can do it all, so do it all back. It's a tempo offense, so having to do a lot of substitutions will slow it down, and I feel like I can stay in all 4 downs. I can pick up the blocks, I can run the ball, I can catch out the backfield. Also, I just feel like my speed is also there too.
One of the things that he got into in this interview, and we don't have this sound, but I'll just tell you the story because the quote was great. I've got it written on a piece it'll be on LouisianaSports.net tomorrow. He was asked why he's a good pass blocker, and he gave an answer I was not expecting. He said, because of my high school wrestling background. You don't think about a lot of running backs being wrestlers. You think about that with defensive linemen, absolutely. But you don't think about that with running backs. And his dad got him into wrestling and running track in high school. It was like a very versatile type deal. And he gave the quote that was like, basically, from my wrestling background, you just need to be the aggressor and strike first. That's his mentality when it comes to pass blocking. And if you have ever been to a football practice, maybe in high school, but definitely in college and 100,000% in the pros, if you're a talented tailback and you can't protect the quarterback, you sit down. Maybe not in high school. You're the guy. Get the ball. Go. In the NFL, they'll get the next talented tailback that can carry the football. You better protect the passer. And LSU will feel that way about Sam Leavitt. There's no doubt. And Dilin Jones brings that type of skill set to the table. And you know that Kevin Smith is going to demand that as well. And Dilin Jones talked about Kevin Smith and his coaching style.
In the meeting room, he showed us his film. And then he showed all the plays he had, the stats he had, and just what helped them get to where he was at. And I really just paid attention to that. And then he also talked about just being able to move your feet through the line of scrimmage, getting your pass lower. I really think just talking to him, and he know the game very well. People see what he done, and I think just listen to him and continue being coachable, and that helped out a lot.
One of the things I've noticed about Kevin Smith at practice, I've told you all this a bunch of times over the last month, but the running backs are the closest position group to us. Offensive line is really far away. Defensive line is pretty far away. Quarterbacks and wide receivers are close enough. Corners are close enough. Running backs are in our lap. Like, they are right there. So you can hear literally every word Kevin Smith says. I can stand 4 feet from Kevin Smith. And so we have at times. And he critiques every single rep these guys do. When they're running through those barricades, when they're running through cones, there's not one time a guy goes through and Kevin Smith just sits there quiet. He's talking about pad level. He's talking about ball security. He's talking about move your feet. He's talking about move your hips. He's talking about go faster. Like, there's always something he's got. And I think about running back as like, a position where you just give me the ball and let's go. And I hear Hester talk about all the time, like, you can either run the ball or you can't. And that's kind of, I've adopted that from him because he certainly knows a lot better than me. But you get the sense that it's not an accident that Ole Miss has produced really good running backs that weren't necessarily 5-star all-world recruits. They're talented guys, and they know how to run the football, but Kevin Smith's probably a pretty good position coach. And I think he's got some guys to work with on this roster, and I'm hopeful that LSU can really cultivate some sort of running game here. And I believe right now, as I sit here, that Dilin Jones is going to be a big part of that, maybe the biggest part of that. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Harlan Berry was it. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Dilin Jones was it. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Caden Durham had a really nice year. But I like the way Jones has worked in camp, in fall, in spring practice, I guess I should say. And I think there's a chance he could be a real impact guy. Interesting to hear from him yesterday at interviews. Again, I'll have a piece up on Dilin Jones on LouisianaSports.net tomorrow morning, probably around 8 o'clock for your morning coffee on a Saturday. We'll be able to go out and see LSU inside Tiger Stadium at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So practice report coming your way tomorrow afternoon as well at LouisianaSports.net. All of it, as always, is for free. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. LSU and A&M tonight. We're at 4.5 hours or so from first pitch. Travis Brown will come aboard, and he will talk about these Texas A&M Aggies when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you are in a house or have a bathroom that was built or remodeled or renovated in the early 90s, maybe mid-90s, you might have one of those huge jacuzzi-style tubs. They were in vogue then. They're probably not as much now, and you might not ever use it. How much space does that thing take up? Be honest. It takes up a lot, right? If you don't ever use that 25-year-old jacuzzi, take it out. It's taking up a lot of space. You could put a glass walk-in shower right there and completely change the aesthetic and functionality of your bathroom, and it can be done in 3 to 5 days with David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. That's what they can do. Every job's a little bit different. Every house is a little bit different, so I can't promise you 3 days, but you're talking about something that's a short-term project that can be transformational in your bathroom. Check it out online at onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation and see about the financing options. 0% up to 18 months. It's One Bath and Closets. They're online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Should be an exciting couple of nights inside Alec Box Stadium, Skip Bertman Field, LSU and Texas A&M. It'll start tonight at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, late first pitch for a Saturday between LSU and A&M. Travis Brown covers Texas A&M for KBTX Sports over in College Station. Good enough to give us some time on this Friday. Travis, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Let's kind of go back to the beginning before we get to the present here. Obviously, so much expectation on last year's A&M team, and injuries kind of riddled things, and they didn't play very well at times and end up missing the postseason. What kind of tone did that set entering this spring for Michael Early in this program?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference and the thing that you can kind of point to is that Michael Early last year kind of handed off some of the day-to-day hitting responsibilities, hitting coach responsibilities last season to Caleb Longley, and try to do a little bit more of the CEO thing in his first year as a head coach. And I think what came of that was a little bit of a slump in what A&M has been so good at since he's been here and been the hitting coach starting in 2022 when Jim Schlossnagle got here. And that's just having really high-powered offenses. And so because of some of the stuff that happened last season and because of the departure of Caleb Longley for his own kind of business ventures, Early kind of took a little bit more of a hands-on approach again to the hitting. And I think that's shown as A&M has one of the statistically best offenses in the country so far this season, and leads the SEC in home runs and has just been a force at the plate so far. So I think if there's one of the biggest changes or maybe growth pieces from last season, that would be Early getting back into being a little bit more hands-on on the offense.
Can you set the scene in College Station last weekend for Friday and Saturday for us?
It was wild. We were out there, 3 hours before the game to do some live shots and stuff like that. And there was a line, all the way basically out to the street of people waiting to get in. There's a decent amount of kind of general admission seating in Bluebell Park. And so when those gates opened, what was it, about 2 hours or an hour and a half before the game started, those general admission seats were all completely full. And they were giving it to Jim Schlossnagle and giving it to the Longhorns. Always funny. Anytime anybody in orange walked by Section 203, which is the kind of the rowdiest group in Bluebell, they were chanting just directional school names at them as if they were just T-shirt Longhorn fans. So it got rowdy. And, it's interesting. I asked Michael Early yesterday about how if that was a good kind of appetizer for going to the box this weekend, because it's your own fans as opposed to visiting fans, but it's going to be, usually an electric environment in there. And he said that's actually something he talked to the team about how it's going to be 2 weeks of usually probably pretty electric environments. But it's all just kind of noise, whether it's they're for you or against you. You just kind of have to block out the noise. So yeah, it was probably the loudest boos I've ever heard from an A&M fan base when Jim Schlossnagle went to the mound. And the most early arriving crowd. And it was, I think, in those two games, winning against Longhorns, A&M fans went home pretty happy with their decision to show up.
A little bit of an appetizer for Lane Kiffin heading back to Oxford in our part of the world here in September. I think that's something we can draw a parallel on there. All right, let's talk about this A&M offense first. You mentioned statistically how good they have been. We know the star power with Sorrell and Grahovac, but how good is this unit 1 to 9?
They're good enough that their number 3 hitter, who might be one of the best all-around hitters, Chris Sakofian, has been in a slump, and it hasn't even mattered. I think the biggest difference to where they are now at this point in the SEC slate as opposed to the beginning is the fact that they've found and been able to generate offense in different ways than just the home run. I think early in the season, especially because Bluebell Park is such a hitter's ballpark, and you can hit a 55-degree launch angle pop fly and it sails out of the ballpark. They've been able to kind of string together hits, take extra bases, work some situational hitting. I mean, through that Texas series, Caden Sorrell didn't necessarily have a great series as far as the scorebook goes, but he hit 2 ground balls to second with runners on third that scored runs in key situations. And I think that was huge for this offense. And then you look to guys like the 3 freshmen that they have starting, Nico Partita at third, Boston Kellner at short, and Jorian Wilson in the outfield. And all 3 of those guys have been able to produce. Right now, Nico Partita at third has more home runs on the season than Gavin Grahovic does. Yeah. And Gavin Grahovic holds the program's home run record for a freshman from what he was able to do 2 years ago. So just all around good offense, and they're able to do it in a lot of different ways.
Travis Brown is our guest, covers Texas A&M for KBTX Sports over in the Lone Star State. All right, Shane Sadeo is one I want to talk about because his numbers are interesting. The strikeout totals are very, very high. So are the runs allowed. What separates the big strikeout numbers from giving up all the long balls and the runs that he's allowed in SEC play?
Yeah, you kind of hit it right on the head there. It's been the long ball. The staff has actually done a really good job of keeping traffic off the base paths and getting a lot of swing and miss. And I think that's why when they have been in these instances where they've given up a lot of home runs and a lot of solo home runs, typically that's what a coach wants. In the SEC, you're going to give up home runs. There's good hitters in here. As long as you keep runners off the base path and limit them to solo home runs, typically an SEC head coach will say that's a job well done. But they've just allowed a lot of solo home runs over the weeks leading up to this Texas series. I'm talking like 5, 6, 7 in a game. And then you're kind of in an instance where, okay, well, you can't give up that many home runs. And so it's been a hard kind of decision, I think, for Michael Early and his coaching staff, because other than, 4 or 5 pitches, Shane Sadeo, Weston Moss, and Aiden Sims has been really good, but those 5 pitches has produced runs, and sometimes that's lost in games. And so Shane Tadeo is by far the best starter they have out there. I mean, he has like a 5 or 6 pitch mix, which is just way more than anybody else that they could throw out there to start. He's a competitor. He's a veteran. Easily their best talent out there. He just, on occasion, has left one over the plate or left one high, and that's turned into 5 at times or 6 solo home runs in a game, and that just sometimes isn't enough for A&M's offensive bats to overcome. So, it's like a right down the middle season. You can't say it's been bad because he's produced a lot of swing and miss and kept people off the base paths, but the home runs have lost some games at the same time.
You mentioned Aiden Sims, and LSU will see him on Saturday. TBA for Michael Early and A&M on Sunday. Weston Moss is a name you mentioned. I think a lot of LSU fans are familiar with him because he's been in the program. What role do you see for him this weekend? How would Michael Early like to use him?
Yeah, they're in the mode of winning series right now, so I think they decided to go ahead and move him up. He had the most extra base hits and home runs allowed through SEC play of any of those guys, so it kind of makes sense maybe to bump him from the starting role. But they kind of put him back in the idea is to put him back in the pen, and if Shane Tadeo gets rocked a little bit earlier, Aiden Sims does, they need to do a long relief situation, or if they use up Clayton Freshcorn in the first game and need kind of a closing situation, they can throw Weston Moss out there. He has the potential to maybe come back and start if those pitches are minimum, but they want to go ahead and get that series win if they can in those first 2 games. And so it'll be maybe one of the first arms out of the bullpen or arms out of the bullpen in a key situation if they need that. And if they don't need him, like they didn't against Texas in those first 2 games, he was slated to start the Sunday game that ended up getting the 9-hour rain delay that never even really happened. So he could be probably the number 1 option for Sunday if that he isn't used in an extended period for those first 2 games.
Travis, we really appreciate some time. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, man.
You got it. Anytime.
He is Travis Brown, KBTX Sports over in Texas, talking about the Aggies. I'm going to do a little bit more on this series when we come back from a break, but he mentioned Weston Moss as a guy that they had in the rotation. They've taken him out. He might be used in the closing situation if they need him after Freshcorn closes 1 game. He might be starting on Sunday. Very much in the mold of Zach Cowan from a usage perspective for A&M. However, they're very opposite. Weston Moss is like 6'5" and throws really hard. Zach Cowan is like 5'10" and throws a bunch of changeups. But you get the picture. Like if they've got a lead or they need some long relief, they need 9 outs, whatever. Or if they haven't used him in 2 games and want to start him on Sunday, all those things are in play for Weston Moss. Very much like Zach Cowan. So it'll be kind of a deal where like which manager gets the chance to use that bullet whenever the time comes. We'll certainly see. Appreciate Travis for giving us a little bit of time. I'll come back and talk some more about this series. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci, the hitter's house over at Marucci. What a cool spot. Just grab a bat, take some swings. You can do that in the hitter's house. And you can do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the hitter's house if you become a member over at Marucci. That is available. So if you have a youth athlete in your house that's just eating up with it, wants to get better, wants to practice, wants to work, and that may happen before school or may happen in the late hours of the evening, you can hit at Marucci if you're a member, and you can hop in that cage with key card access. Really cool spot. I always tell you they've got the official bat of Major League Baseball there. You can take a tour. MarucciSports.com/campus-tour. Get tickets. Go see where they make 1,200 bats every single day to send to the best players in the world. The official bat of Major League Baseball, from a shed in Baton Rouge to the show in 20 years. It's an amazing story over at Marucci. You can learn about it by taking that campus tour. Check them out online at MarucciSports.com. MarucciSports.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Chugging along here on a Friday. We're brought to you by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I want to remind y'all about an incredible opportunity that Auctioner is offering coming up on May 3rd. I know I have a reasonable expectation of how expensive youth athletics can be. Year-round stuff, travel ball, the whole deal. Like the price tags get way up there, obviously. Here's something for free. Any incoming 6th grader through 12th grader that needs a physical to compete in youth athletics can go to Oxner and get that done between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. at the Elite Training Facility on Burbank on May 3rd. So again, May 3rd, it's in a couple of weeks, but Saturday, May 3rd, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., you can walk in and get that physical for free at Elite, thanks to the folks at Oxner. Now, keep in mind, you must have an LHSAA medical history form filled out and a parent or guardian to participate. So it can't be drop off here. Got to have somebody to accompany the youngster. But free physicals at Elite on Burbank. That's 5444 Burbank Drive. Free physicals Saturday, May 3rd, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you need one of those to compete, get on by and see them on May 3rd at Elite, thanks to my friends at Oxner. All right, I'm looking at this LSU Texas A&M series, and as I said at the top of the show today, the matchup between LSU and A&M is the exact opposite of the matchup between LSU and Ole Miss last week. This is an A&M team that swings it a ton and doesn't pitch it as well. Ole Miss hasn't swung it well and pitches fantastically. The other piece to this puzzle that is very important, and I think could be a differentiator in this series if LSU allows it to be. LSU last year fielded 981. It was the best fielding season in LSU baseball history, 981. This A&M team is fielding 983. They're playing better defense than LSU did last year. And you juxtapose that with LSU's fielding, which has been abysmal and is the worst in the conference. You have a potential for A&M to get 5, 7, 8 more outs in this series to work with than LSU. You can't allow that against a team that swings the bats this well. So obviously that's something to keep very much in mind, that A&M fields it fantastically. Now I talked a lot about A&M. I talked a lot about A&M in our first segment. Travis just talked about A&M for 10, 12 minutes. I'm going to talk a little about LSU now, okay? I've said this in a way a couple of times, especially regarding Case and Evans. But I'm going to be a little bit more all-encompassing here. This is a critical weekend for this season. If you go get swept, it's about time to turn out the lights. That would be 6-12. That's 18 games. If you have 12 games left and you've got 6 wins, you've got to get 7 more at minimum. So you got to go 7-5 and maybe better than that. You might have to go 8-4. That's not realistic if you've just been swept twice and once on your home field. But if you can win it, you'll be in decent shape. Your RPI will go way up, or the correct direction, I should say. And your standing in the conference will be okay. And you'll have your third conference series win in 6 weeks, and you'll be okay. To get to that point, here's what's going to have to happen in my estimation. You need your stars to show up at the box against a top 10 opponent and win the weekend. I'm looking at Case and Evans. I'm looking at William Schmidt. I'm looking at Zach Cowan. I'm looking at Jake Brown and Derek Curiel and Stephen Milam. Y'all need to show up. Not that they haven't. Jake Brown's had a phenomenal year. Curiel has been unbelievable for a month. I'm not framing this in the lens that those guys haven't played well and that's why LSU's in the shape they're in. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you that I don't think you're going to show up and beat Texas A&M because Omar Cerna and Braden Simpson had a big weekend. I don't think you're going to win this game, win a Saturday game on the back of a phenomenal Santiago Garcia 2 2/3 of shutout ball. Like, sure, that's possible. Cerna can hit 2 over the scoreboard tonight. But realistically, you need Kason Evans and William Schmidt to hold the line. I cannot see a line score from Case and Evans that says 4 1/3, 5 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 hit batsmen. Like that can't happen. You can't go into your bullpen trailing that early in game 1. I cannot see William Schmidt bounced after 3 2/3 because his pitch count's too high, which is what you've seen sometimes. You're at home. The lights are getting brighter. This team, which is banged up and next third to last in the standings and a mile back in the RPI, needs people to step forward. And these are the guys that have to do it. Jake Brown, I need a couple homers this weekend. Steven Milam, I need some RBI hits this weekend. Chris Stanfield, need some line drives. Make a couple catches. You've got to have your dudes step up. It is that time. And this is not revolutionary stuff, I'm telling you. But I think it's in there. And the phrase we've been using for now 6 weeks is like, well, they could turn it around. Lost to Sacramento State. They'll figure it out. Jay's teams always do. Well, lost a series to Oklahoma. It's early. Well, couldn't beat Vanderbilt. It's the first conference weekend. They'll get it rolling. And then you beat Kentucky and you beat Tennessee. Well, they're starting to hit. And then you go to Oxford and fall flat. You got to show up this weekend. You've got to. The tenor of the conversation on Monday can really change. It really can. If Evans and Schmidt combine for 11 good innings, 12 would be phenomenal. 11 good innings. If you get some really good swings against another mediocre staff, keep in mind, Kentucky staff's mediocre after Jelkin, you ripped them. Tennessee's bullpen stinks after their first 3 guys, you crushed them. Vanderbilt's staff falls off a cliff, you annihilated them on Sunday. That is not even new. You can do it against mediocre arms. What you've got to do is make sure that happens again. And if you can put some heat on Shane Sadeo early, run a couple balls out of the yard in the first couple of innings, force Michael Early's hand, you can change the way this series looks pretty quickly. But if your dudes go out there and Case and Evans is falling behind and he gives up a couple long balls and William Schmidt doesn't quite have it, and then you've got to go down the line in the bullpen and you're counting on some of the guys that haven't gotten high leverage outs to get this lineup out, it can get sideways in a hurry. Ask Texas. So my deal on this weekend is, dudes, you better lace them up. I had a terrible feeling about last weekend entering the weekend. I really did. I told y'all on Friday, you better win on Friday because the matchups are not good after that. I don't feel that way about this. I think LSU can play with and beat Texas A&M in that stadium. The tenor of the fan base is kind of mixed. There's some that are just going to hold out hope. There are some that are still in the honeymoon phase from 2 titles in 3 years. There are some that are done with this team and staring at the spring practice field. No matter what camp you fall in, that is completely your prerogative. I support you in that venture. Where am I? Here's where I am today. And we'll see how things go on Monday. But here's where I am today on this team. I do not believe this team will host a regional. I think there is a better than 50% chance this team does not make a regional. I think if this team does play better baseball over the last 15, there's a chance they can do some things in a regional because they'll have shown that Evans is improving and Schmidt is improving and they found a lineup and maybe Cerna's grown up. Maybe Aaron Beatty has emerged into a real force in the lineup. Maybe Braun grows up a little bit. Maybe you get Dardar healthy and he finds a heater like he did for 2 weeks until he got hurt. Like those pieces, I'm not going to ignore those pieces. I'm just not betting on them right now. They can change that in a weekend. We've seen a bunch of teams in the league do that. Like Alabama went out in the first weekend and got swept by Kentucky. They came back out, guns blazing, swept Florida and swept Auburn. You change the tenor of things like that. You just do. A&M started this season 1-4, and in losses 3 and 4 of that 1-4, Georgia bombed them out of their own stadium, hit 11 home runs. And they came back and won, and then they came back and played great over a couple of weekends, and they just beat Texas 2 in a row. The whole tenor changes around that. One weekend did it. Arkansas, fledgling, looking weak, had been swept in their own ballpark. You never see that. But Florida went up there and swept them. Well, what'd they do? Turn around, went on the road to Alabama, swept Alabama, who was riding high. Then all of a sudden, Arkansas is feeling itself a little bit. They go back home last night. They beat Georgia. Georgia had its ace on the mound. Arkansas beat them. One weekend changes that tenor. Ole Miss got swept by Mississippi State on their own field. All you could hear from that town was how they got to fire Mike Bianco. Now you're hearing about how they could be a dark horse to be a top 8 if that pitching figures itself out. Mississippi State was thought to be maybe a top 5 team in the country. They had just swept Ole Miss. What do? They come home, get swept off their own field. Georgia just dusted them. And then they went and got swept again. Changes everything. Like, a weekend is an eternity. And things can change from Friday's show to Monday's show. It can, but you got to go out there and get it. And your dudes better show up to do it. Can't rely on guys down the line against a team that talented. Now look, I wouldn't have pegged Cade Beatty entering Knoxville, and he hit 4 home runs. And that's the beauty of having a very talented team. You've got guys in places you may not expect that may break out. But on the whole, guys got to be guys. And look, you're facing a lefty tonight. Now, his numbers stink. And Curiel's been great against left-handers this year, and Brown's been pretty good against left-handers this year. But you gotta get in there and take control. Last parting shot here. This team falls behind a lot. A lot. Try to play from ahead a little bit this week. That means the starters have got to come out against Grahovic and Sorrell and Hakopian. 1, 2, 3. And get something done. You got to get them out. They're not going to go easy. You got to get them out. And then give your lineup a chance to go out there and take the lead. Play from ahead. Keep the tension out of the box. Make the box an asset for you by playing from ahead and injecting some life into it and creating a little bit of hope that things might turn around a little bit. I'm keeping the hope. We had a staff meeting back on Wednesday, as we do, and we were looking at calendars. Regional Friday came up, and I made a comment saying I better not be talking about offensive guards on Regional Friday. That's not what I signed up for. Take a step towards playing Regional Friday. Go beat Texas A&M twice. We'll see. We'll start tonight in just over 3 hours. 6 o'clock first pitch. You can listen on Eagle 98.1 at 5:30 for pregame. Again, 6 o'clock first pitch tonight. That's early for a Friday. That accommodates television. And then tomorrow, late game for LSU and A&M at 7 o'clock from the box. Come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge, swingeasygcbr.com, swingeasygcbr.com. Here's a plan. If you're not going to the box tonight, it's on TV. It's not even streaming. So you can go to Swing Easy Golf Club tonight, get them to bring you down a bucket on ice with some seltzers, some beers. You can crank up the LSU A&M game on the television, play some golf on the simulator, play Pebble Beach, play Cypress Point, play TPC Louisiana. That's where they'll be next week for the Zurich. Have some fun, hang out. It's a great way. Socialize, play some golf, and do it in a climate-controlled area while you're watching some TV with comfortable seating and some tunes cranked up. Great Friday night. You can make it happen if you don't have a tee time for tomorrow, but have some time to go play some golf. Swing East will have you tomorrow morning. Go see them. They're on Segan at Perkins. The Swing Easy Golf Club. Online at swingeasygcbr.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Friday shows every single week brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's a little late for lunch now, but it's Friday. If you want to get by and get you a big old plate of fried catfish, you can do it over at Corks Jumbo Gulf Shrimp. That recipe was born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. I always want to remind you that Corks is happy to feed in bulk. If you've got a family reunion coming up, you've got a graduate that you want to feed, a big party for to celebrate, Corks is happy to do that. It'll get you a big old tray of those crispy fried catfish strips, those big jumbo Gulf shrimp, shoestring fries, honey butter rolls, get you the coleslaw, get you the beignet bites as well. They can do rid of the Corks, plus all the sauces that your heart could possibly desire. I like the Cork sauce. They got your traditionals, your tartar sauce, cocktail sauce as well. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson, online at corksfishandshrimp.com, corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, last order of business. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, Crawfish Monica. Take it or leave it.
Got to take it. I did something yesterday I've never done before. So we had the crawfish bowl in the parking lot yesterday.
Yeah.
I looked over. There are probably 30 boxes of 3 pounds of crawfish that had not been opened.
Okay.
I was like, all right, I'm going to go peel 3 boxes worth and bring the tails home. So I sat there for like 30 minutes, chatted with Cade and Haldane and Josh Ward and a few guys.
Real father.
And just peeled a ton of tails.
Yeah.
Brought them home. Cooked crawfish Monica. A+. Awesome. It was fantastic. I'm all about it. I don't mind peeling the tails. I would have liked to have a couple pops while I was doing it, but I'm driving, so I couldn't do that. But it was great.
You know, yeah,
Got the kiddos in the car.
You're right.
Come on now.
You're right. You know, hey, it's
Come
Friday.
on
It's
now.
Friday. It's Friday. All right. Jay Clark's team will win the national title number 2 tomorrow. Take it or leave it.
Take it.
I'll take
I don't know anything about gymnastics, but I like the fact they're in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, he was on today. They're good. That's all I know. They're really good. They're really good.
I saw Jay Clark at dinner on Friday. Guy looked to be in a good mood, and I see why. His team's doing great. They're in the Final Four. I know that they were down entering the last event yesterday. They came up and scored well on the floor. They're number 1 in the country on floor. And so I didn't see Oklahoma in the final, which is a little stunning.
They're
to me.
usually always there. I always
They've won it like
LSU
a billion times. But I like Jay Clark. I like his team. And I like them competing for a national title on Saturday. Let's hope they can get it done.
Oklahoma's in the final.
Oh, they are? I thought I missed them.
It's Oklahoma, Florida, Minnesota.
I saw Minnesota was coming up
and,
late.
There's one more
LSU and
SEC team.
Well,
I
they
don't
beat
know.
Georgia.
I'm about to say, I
That's
couldn't
it.
tell y'all.
Oklahoma, Florida,
the Final
LSU,
Four, right?
LSU,
Four. Yeah,
LSU, and yeah. So there you go.
There you
All
go.
right.
Hey, 3 heads is better than 1.
That's right.
All right, so wide receiver Zay Flowers believes that the change of head coach will improve the Baltimore Ravens' health issues on an episode of 4th and South podcast. That's Leonard Fournette's and Jarvis Landry podcast, by the way. Flowers basically claimed that Coach Harbaugh was running them into the ground. Basically, he said full pads all the time. However many practices you can have, every single one. We were doing one-on-ones in week 17. He said, Landry asked him, how did the players manage the workload? Flowers said, we didn't. That's why we had a lot of injuries because of how we practiced, how we went about that. He said the load was heavy. So, with John Harbaugh out of town, will the Ravens improve their health this year? Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. Like, who knows? I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a football coach because I don't have a good answer for that. Like, the game requires you to block and tackle.
Yeah, gotta be
but
physical.
You don't want to practice that.
Yeah.
There is no other sport I can think of that.
Not really, especially because, again, like, these guys are paid so much. And then, like, we've seen injuries at practice, like Teddy Bridgewater. Remember, he, like, blew his knee out completely, almost changed his whole career at practice. So,
LSU's had too. I mean, I sat there and watched Aiden Manning blow his Achilles last Saturday.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and it's like, what are you going to do? You got to practice.
You have to practice.
He had a pick. No one was near him. His Achilles blew. I mean, if you got a bunch of guys breaking their clavicle in practice, I mean, you got an issue, but you got guys blowing knees and stuff.
Hamstrings
what it
and
is.
stuff like that. But when you say that, Hunt, it's crazy because he was having his best practice at his LSU career.
Yeah,
and just
2
like
picks.
that.
It was awesome. He played great. I mean, the first pick was awesome. He was went up the goal line, high pointed it, made the play. He just cut under the second one, and it was kind of thrown right to him. But had a great practice. Unfortunately, won't be practicing anytime soon.
All right, so to wrap this up, Mike Trout is the first visiting player to homer 4 straight days at Yankee Stadium. Wow. The only player to do that was in 1972 with John Mayberry. So is Mike Trout returning back to his prime form? Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. That was pretty special prime form. One of the top probably 15 players all time in his absolute prime. I don't think you're going to see that, but he's still good. It's just unfortunate that he wasted away his entire career in the Angels, who couldn't make the playoffs with him. And I don't even know if it was their fault because they went and spent money on Rendon. They went and spent money on Pujols.
The Rendon contract.
They did a lot. It just never worked. So just bad decisions, not cheapness, which is my chief sin.
So that's it for Take It or Leave
All right,
It.
that's it for us on a Friday. We're brought to you by Corks. Miss any of the show, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Hunt on LSU for all your LSU spring football. Hunt on Saints as we get closer to draft day. Draft week upon us on Monday. We'll be racked into LSU spring football as well as LSU and Texas A&M with an eye on the Saints draft. We'll do it all coming up on Monday.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing, lifetimeroofingla.com. Lifetimeroofingla.com is that website. As of January 1st, Lifetime Roofing is so excited to be able to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. That workmanship warranty covers, obviously, the workmanship right there in the name, but it also covers the materials, which are backed by Certainteed, one of the oldest and most respected names in materials. Roofing is not a decision that you should take lightly. Obviously, it can be a sizable investment. Trust the folks at Lifetime Roofing. They're a locally based and owned company, folks from right here in the Baton Rouge area. They can help you out anywhere in the state, also over into Houston. If you need a new roof, they can do it. Maybe it's just a repair. They can do that. Let them do the inspection so they know what it is you need to do. Maybe it's just a tune-up to fortify that roof. Storm season's around the corner. Make sure your roof is in good shape. If you need a new roof, Lifetime Roofing can do it for you. You can check them out online at lifetimeroofingla.com. That's lifetimeroofingla.com.